What's up, everyone? It's Karthik with MoneyVest, and we are seeing some downward pressure on the overall market. This is not a surprise because tomorrow is the big day. We've got Jackson Hole Economic Symposium in Wyoming, and Jerome Powell is going to be talking. As you can see, the volatility right now is a little bit under 18 at the moment. It is up over 10% right now. So that's a pretty big candle for the first time since, of course, August 1st, when the markets were, obviously selling off a little bit. We were already getting some indication for a bit of a pullback leading up to that August 5th Monday crash. Volatility's ripped over 13% on that particular day, closing in at well over 18.5. And right now we are just under 18, a little bit over 10.4% higher on the day, with, of course, indices selling off quite aggressively. I'm keeping a very close eye on Nvidia. Next week, Nvidia earnings are coming out. I'm actually planning a pretty big trade on Nvidia stock. I'll keep you guys updated with everything on Discord. I'm planning to sell CSPs on Nvidia. That's going to put collateral of upwards of $70,000 to $75,000 for this trade for next week, because premiums are getting better. And I actually wanted to wait until Nvidia turned red, which it is right now, down a little bit over 3%, with Tesla also down over 4%, with AMD down almost 4%. Microsoft, Amazon, again, the entire Magnificent 7 index down almost 2%. So that is a pretty reasonable sell-off. We are seeing hundreds of billions of dollars kind of exit the market right now, as S&P 500 is down over 94 basis points, so almost 1% down. And the NASDAQ 100 definitely selling off quite aggressively here, down over 1.5%. So I want to go over this right here for tomorrow. So definitely do, drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video with your family, friends, other traders, investors, because we are starting to see volatility once again move back higher leading up to tomorrow's Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, which again will be live to cover the entire speech from Jerome Powell and take a look at the markets and how they're reacting. And for 1 week, I will be placing that trade on Nvidia. So if you want to get access to all the trade alerts, ideas, options, everything, links going to be down below. And I will be doing this as a more weekly thing. I'll be selling weekly puts on different stocks, whether it's Nvidia, Tesla. Mostly it's going to be rotating in and out of those Magnificent 7 companies to continue to generate some good cash flow. And I'll show you guys how it's done. So that's going to be available in our Discord with all the links and, of course, trade alerts available there. So tomorrow is the big meeting. August 24th is when we have the Jerome Powell's speech. Actually, it's going to be 23rd. So I'm just going to update that. August 23rd, 2024. 1 day prior, I think we can confidently put down a negative number, but we still have a couple hours until the markets close here. But if the markets close red, we can put that number here. Last year, we had a similar situation where the markets were down over 1.3%. That's what the S&P 500 was down 1 day prior to Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. And on the day of, the markets were higher, 0.67%. But the year before that, in 2022, the markets had a very green day, 1.4% 1 day prior to Jackson Hole, and then down over 3% on the day of. But of course, 2022 was also a pretty brutal bear market. So if I were to highlight the exact years when the markets were higher or lower, 2022, of course, was a year when the markets overall in the entire year were down. And of course, 2023 ended up being a very, very solid year for the market being up, right? So last year, the markets were higher. I believe 2021 was also a year where the markets were green. I have to go back and double check. Just, you know what? Let's just do that right now. So let's just come over to S&P 500. And we're going to come over to the monthly chart very quickly. We're going to take a look at what the markets did in 2021. 2020 was for sure a green year because of all the monetary policy and the money printing. But 2021, I'm not so sure. So 2020, we started off in January of 2020 here, and we ended up the year in October. So we were pretty much over here by December. So we were up a little bit over 13.6%. And then 2020, we essentially started right over here, January, and we ended the year right about here. So yes, 2021 also a very, very positive year, 26%. So yes, so that is also true. And in that particular year, we saw the markets drop by 0.5% on the day of, and then push higher 88 basis points on the year, right? So that was the significant gain on that particular year for the markets. So this is where we are. And again, on the day right now, we're seeing a little bit of a pullback for the markets, down almost 1%. from those levels. And then, of course, on the day of, we'll find out what happens tomorrow. Now, really, what I also want to address is where the volatility is currently and where it could actually end up. Right now, we know the volatility is just a little bit under 18 at the moment. So in the past, what you'll notice in the last 4 years, and this is leading up to September, because September is just about a couple months ago. So I want to be very clear that just because volatility is low right now does not mean that it's going to stay low, because September usually historically has been one of the worst months for the market. As we have already addressed some of the seasonality trends, it's got a very low probability for it to be a green month. And on average, we've seen 1.5%, almost 2% down in the month of September, especially the last 4 years. If you take a look at the last 4 years for the S&P 500, they've actually been pretty brutal, right? Last year, September, down almost 5%. The year before that, in 2022, down almost 10%. 2021 down over 4.7, and in 2020 down almost 4%. So last 4 years have been pretty brutal when it comes to September, with volatility averaging a level of over 30. VIX in September in the last 4 years has averaged 30, with an average gain in the month of September of over 22%. So I think we are coming up to a sort of like a double whammy here, where we are coming up with the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, which historically has been either the day of or prior to that one, the speech from Jerome Powell been read, and then September historically has been also not the best month, especially if you consider more recent history over the last 4 years. However, September is also going to be the year where we're going to see some type of rate cuts. This is the first September of rate cuts in the last 4 years, right? So that is also a big new catalyst that once the rate cuts are announced in September, the markets are going to most likely reflect that information, and that could lead to a positive sort of reaction from the markets as well. But again, we have to understand that is that going to accompany with a recession or not? If it is without a recession, that's job well done. That's soft landing. That is incredible data from the markets, from the economy. And in my opinion, that's going to be applauded really well. There's going to be quantitative easing, and there's going to be a soft landing without a recession, without unemployment going higher. But if there is any sort of recession fears accompanied with that rate cut, the markets are most likely going to have some short-term weakness. When you kind of tag along that September seasonality, there's going to be some potential downside. And that's exactly why in my yesterday's video, I mentioned that I think we need to be prepared. I think we need to be ready for if and when the volatility spikes again, which, as of today, right now, we're seeing another 10% increase. But I think it's really important to raise that cash level once again. That's exactly what I'm doing here, is by taking that Nvidia trade allows me to generate some nice cash to once again prop up my dry powder and my buying power, so that I can deploy once again if and when there's opportunities in the markets. Once again, we did not quite breach the all-time high yet. We were only 1% off, and the markets are now starting to rotate back lower, with the S&P 500 down, and of course the Nasdaq selling off about 1.5%. So we'll still see how the markets end up closing today, but just wanted to shoot a quick update and again let you guys know that this is part of a healthy market uptrend, part of a healthy market overall trend. This right here is the Magnificent 7 index, actually the semiconductors, which are down over 3% on the back of course, Nvidia dropping over 3.5% as well. So hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And it's a very simple trade where I will be selling puts on Nvidia for next week. And at the same time, also taking a look at volatility and also getting ready and preparing for the September seasonality as well. So hope you all enjoyed this video, found it helpful. Make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Links to our Discord, Patreon is going to be down below if you want to join. 16% annual discount that's available until the end of this month. As always, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.